Peace and blessings be upon you all. In our previous episode, we spoke of Sahal bin Abdullah at-Tustari, the great knower of Allah from the 3rd century Hijri, who in his Tafsir al-Tustari expounded the teaching of the light of Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Today, we will speak of another towering name from that very same century, a name that has stood at the center of love, wonder, and controversy, all three, across Islamic history. Hussein bin Mansur al-Hallaj. Who was Hallaj? His full name was Abu al-Mughith al-Hussein bin Mansur al-Hallaj. He was born in 244 Hijri in the region of Baida in Iran, which was then part of Persia, and he passed away, or rather was martyred, in 309 Hijri in Baghdad. In his lifetime, Hallaj traveled extensively. He performed the Hajj 3 times to the holy city of Makkah, journeyed to Khurasan, reached as far as the Indian subcontinent, and finally settled in Baghdad. His first teacher was Tustari, the very same figure we discussed in the previous episode. He then took up discipleship under Amr bin Uthman al-Maki, and finally he kept the company of the Imam of Tasawwuf in Baghdad, al-Junayd al-Baghdadi. So Hallaj was not an isolated figure. He stood firmly within the central spiritual tradition of the 3rd century Hijri. Now, an important point must be made clear here. Throughout history, scholars have differed about Hallaj. Some called him the martyr of divine love. Others criticized him. Some of his statements drew the objection of the scholars of his time, and ultimately, he was sentenced to death in 309 Hijri. But on one matter, all are agreed. Hallaj was a great knower of Allah, an intense worshipper, and a deeply respected author. And his most important work is the Book of the Tawasin. What is this Book of the Tawasin? It is a brief but profound work consisting of 11 chapters. Each chapter begins with the word Tasin. Tasin is actually a combination of 2 letters that appear at the beginning of certain chapters of the Quran, such as Surah al-Naml. These letters are known as the disjointed letters, and the scholars have offered many spiritual meanings for them. By naming the chapters of his book after these letters, Hallaj gave a particular signal that these chapters are tied to divine knowledge and divine secrets. And what is the very first chapter of the book? Its name means the Tazeen of the lamp, and this entire chapter is devoted to the light of the beloved Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. Dear viewers, reflect on this for a moment. A knower of Allah is composing his entire book, covering the oneness of God, divine love, the annihilation of the self, and many spiritual themes. And he begins his book with the light of Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. This ordering is not accidental. This ordering is the expression of his very belief that the starting point of every spiritual journey is this light. So what did Hallaj say in this opening chapter? His words are very famous. The opening line, in translation, reads as follows: "A lamp that emerged from the light of the unseen, then returned and surpassed all lamps to become their master." Reflect on each part of this statement. A lamp, emerging from the light of the unseen. It came forth and it returned. Then it surpassed every other lamp and became their master. Who is this lamp? Hallaj himself explains, "This is the light of Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him." And within this is hidden a deep meaning. Reflect carefully. This light emerged from the unseen of Allah. Then it returned, meaning toward its origin. And then, surpassing all lamps, that is, all the lights of the prophets, it became their master. Then Hallaj continues with these words, in translation: "The lights of all the prophethoods emerged from his light, and the lights of the prophets shone forth from his light." This is a sentence of immense importance. Hallaj is saying, the light of Adam, peace be upon him, the light of Nuh, peace be upon him, the light of Ibrahim, peace be upon him, the light of Musa, peace be upon him, the light of Isa, peace be upon him. Every one of these lights is a branch of the light of Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. One single fountainhead and its countless branches. And then Hallaj says something even more astonishing. In translation, "Among all the lights, there is no light more luminous, more manifest, and more ancient than the light of the Master of Generosity, peace and blessings be upon him." Here are 3 attributes. The first, most luminous. The second, most manifest. The third, most ancient. meaning the very first. Recall, what did al-Tustari say in our previous episode? He said, Allah created the light of Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, first, and then from that light, he brought forth all other souls. And today, al-Hallaj is saying the very same thing, that this light is the most ancient, the very first. That means two different knowers of Allah, two different cities, almost the same century, and the message of both is one. This is no coincidence. This is an organized, transmitted scholarly tradition. An important clarification is necessary here. Some of al-Hallaj's other statements were the subject of dispute, and it was on account of these statements that the scholars critiqued him. But the opening chapter of the book of the Tawasin, this chapter has drawn very little criticism. Its content is in harmony with the central Islamic tradition. And this entire chapter is preserved today in the edition of Louis Massignon, the French Orientalist, published in Paris in 1913, which remains the most authoritative scholarly edition to this day. So, what is the summary? Mansur al-Hallaj, a great knower of Allah from between the 3rd and 4th century Hijri, clearly stated in the first chapter of his book of the Tawasin, the Tasin of the lamp, that the light of Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, is the very first, the most luminous, and the most manifest of all creations, and the lights of all the prophethoods are mere branches of that one light. In our next episode, we will examine al-Hallaj's same book in even greater depth, his celebrated declaration, in which he affirmed the beloved prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, as the master of all the prophets, and the verses of poetry he composed in praise of the prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. So please subscribe and stay with us through this series. May Allah Almighty grant us the true recognition of the beloved prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. Allah Hafiz.